We heard 3 scholars might finally have found a way to unravel the mystery of the scrolls.
A Roman city vanished under Vesuvius in 79 CE, and for 2,000 years, its library was charcoal and silence. What if those voices were never gone at all, only waiting for the right machine to hear them? We didn't pry the scrolls open. We opened the pixels. We didn't chip at stone. We trained models to see the letters inside it. AI is pulling ink out of ash, syntax out of scratches, and meaning out of noise, turning the world's strangest marks back into sentences. Burned libraries, buried tablets, broken scripts. They aren't singing lullabies. They're surfacing truths we might not be ready for. Who wrote first? How empires counted and prayed? What was erased? And by whom? Tonight, 10 cases where algorithms move the line between rumor and reading, where a sealed scroll whispers a word, a desert carving becomes message, and a knotted cord starts acting like a page. And the last language on this list? That one stings the most. It doesn't just speak, it changes how we think about who was speaking first. Let's begin. 10. The Herculaneum Scrolls. When the mountain blew, a private library turned to charcoal. The papyri were too fragile to unroll. Any attempt risked destroying them forever. The breakthrough wasn't a blade, it was a pipeline. High-resolution scans, virtual unrolling, and models trained to spot faint ink signals inside carbonized layers. First came scattered letters, then words, then flowing Greek lines. The voice that emerged wasn't mythic prophecy, but philosophy, arguments, jokes, daily life. The win isn't that a computer solved the past. It's that pattern-hungry models turned noise into signal without cracking a single sheet. What remains is scale. Thousands of fragments still sit in the dark. The more pages we map, the more a Roman neighborhood begins to sound like a neighborhood again. 9. Akkadian on clay. Museums hold a sea of wedge marks, contracts, laws, laments, and lists, far more than the few hundred specialists on Earth can process. AI changes the math. Vision models isolate signs even on chipped tablets. Language models trained on vetted transliterations generate first-pass readings and candidate glosses. Alignment tools link duplicates spread across collections. The goal isn't to replace experts, it's to push the backlog from centuries to years. Most outputs are drafts, messy and marked for human review, but the conveyor belt is finally moving. Each verified line adds a grain of detail to 5,000 years of ordinary life. Grain tallies, river levels, workers' names, debts paid and not paid. 8. Dead Sea Scrolls, hands behind the letters. For decades, a famous scroll was credited to one scribe. Feed thousands of alephs into a classifier, and the surface splits. 2 distinct micro-habits, 2 people sharing one task. AI can't read faith into parchment, but it can read pressure, angle, hesitation, and fatigue. That shifts the story from artifact to workshop. Teams, training, and quiet labor in caves and desert rooms. The text didn't descend complete. It was produced, revised, and recopied by human hands. We can finally tell apart. 7. The Indus script. Short inscriptions. No bilingual key. No living descendants to ask. Early skeptics called the symbols decorative. Statistical tests pushed back. The sequences behave like language, not ornaments. Modern models segment tiny, worn signs. Clustering reveals families and ordering rules. Generative approaches simulate plausible continuations and reject impossible ones. The roadblock is brutal and clear. Most texts are only a handful of signs long, starving every decoder of context. Even so, the pattern keeps saying, not random. The next breakthroughs will likely come from 2 directions at once. Better readings of old ceilings, and a few miraculous new finds that add length. 6. Meroitic, Kingdom of Kush. 2 scripts, monumental and cursive, speak a language with no easy relatives and no Rosetta Stone. Unsupervised models that once bootstrapped structure in other ancient scripts now hunt regularities in Meroitic. Recurring endings, particles, name formulas, the skeleton of grammar without a dictionary. Progress is incremental and fragile. Small corpora, short texts, but every nudge tightens the net. The payoff is cultural. Ritual phrases, titles, trade, and law from a Nile civilization too often eclipsed by its northern neighbor. 5. Proto-Elamite, Iran. Tablets from the dawn of cities carry signs that resisted meaning for a century. Ultra-detailed imaging captures stroke order and microgrooves. Clustering groups variants. Numerical subsystems start to resolve. Where a reader once saw identical scratches, a model now sees categories, counting, commodities, accounts. It's still not reading in the narrative sense, but the bookkeeping logic of an early economy is taking shape. And as the symbol inventory stabilizes, so does the path to phonetic values. 4. Egyptian hieroglyphs, accelerated, not automated. A camera, a sign list, a cloud of references, that's the modern desk. Pattern-matching tools speed the jump from carved falcon to candidate readings, link entries to Gardner categories, and surface similar passages from digitized corpora. It's not a magic translator, it's a force multiplier. Hours of leafing become minutes of comparison, and the saved time goes where it belongs, interpretation. The result is less mystery, more nuance. The same walls, read with wider eyes. 3. Rongorongo, Rapa Nui. A few dozen wooden boards survive, carved with a snaking, alternating script and no bilingual anchor. For more than a century, the debate stalled. Writing or memory art, computer vision now isolates glyphs at scale, tracks them across boards, clusters families, and tests layout rules. Even without a single sentence translated, the catalog is becoming reliable. What appears together, what never does, which positions change meaning. The work is pre-decipherment, but essential. You can't unlock a door you haven't mapped. 2. Oracle Bone Script, Shang, China. Questions to ancestors were incised into shell and bone, then cracked in fire. Datasets with hundreds of thousands of rubbings let models match damaged signs to complete ones, predict missing strokes, and connect archaic graphs to later forms. That means fewer orphans in drawers and more lines tied into the family tree of Chinese writing. Decipherment here isn't a single eureka, it's thousands of tiny repairs, legible where it was broken, complete where it was chipped away. 1. Etruscan, Italy's shadow tongue. Thousands of inscriptions and still no close relatives to lean on. Feed the corpus to sequence models and patterns start to stand up. Recurring suffixes, case-like endings, formulaic funerary lines, ritual phrases, name elements. Meaning remains partial, but grammar's silhouette is sharpening. The shock isn't that AI solved Etruscan, it's that a language long treated as a wall is showing seams, hinges, and handholds. The more we see the structure, the less it feels like an island, and the more its people step out of Rome's shadow. Across bone, clay, cord, wood, ink, and ash, AI isn't conjuring miracles. It's doing patient work at scale, separating signal from noise, proposing, being corrected, and trying again. Some claims will overheat, some headlines won't replicate, but page by page, pixel by pixel, the silent places are sounding like voices,